Hi guys, welcome back. Hope you're doing all good today. So today I'm going to be in control of my favourite army, the Lizardmen, up against the Dowie, led by a mighty Rune Lord. So let's get underway. So I've been trying this matchup quite a lot recently. I actually tend to take Dwarfs up against Lizardmen when people bring them. I think it's a fairly interesting battle, especially since the latest DLC. So let's have a little look at our front line. So we've gone for a pretty spread out formation. We've got two little flanking forces. So over on the left hand flank we do have 2 units of the Cold One Riders. Now their added mobility is just super useful for getting to the back of the Dowie. Of course their main anti-large tools are cannons, which this map helps stop quite a lot, plus slayers, and these guys should be able to outpace slayers. On the left hand side we also have a unit of red-crested skinks, being all sneaky and trying to get round the flank. For our front line, we have a mixture of Saurus Warriors with shields and, of course, some more red-crested skinks who are just super good in this matchup with their arm-piercing, frenzy, poison attacks, all that kind of good stuff. Plus, they just look pretty badass. And I guess it's fair enough to fight the Dwarfs, on their level. So we've got all that across all the front line. On the right-hand side, we do have a unit of Saurus and a unit of red-crested skinks trying to be a little bit sneaky. And then the back, currently getting smacked in the face by some cannons. We do have 2 units of Croxagore. If these guys can get in, they can do a huge amount of damage. However, obviously, with cannons and thunderers and whatnot, they're often targeted very quickly. In the very back here, we do have the cohort of Sotek, so the Red-Crested Skink Regiment Renowned, who have a super useful ability called Refuse to Die. So they continue to lose health, but they won't lose any models. They still fight at their maximum capacity for a certain amount of time, plus they're unbreakable, which is very good. Now for our Lord, we do just have a plain old Saurus Old Blood here. I think he's just brought the Amulet of Itzel there for that 66% damage resistance, just at key points, in case he comes up against Ungrim or the White Dwarf, or any of that type of stuff. He looks pretty cool, he's cheap, he's cheerful, and he can still lay a bit of a whooping down. Now we do also have a mage somewhere. Where have you gone? We have a super sneaky skink priest hanging around here somewhere. I'm certain I brought one. Right, I'm sure they're going to rip. There they are. They're hiding amongst all their skink brethren here. With their cool little feathers just doing this thing. We do have the skink priest of heavens. And he's just bought the Curse of Midnight Wind, which is super useful, obviously, getting rid of some of that armor and melee attack, which dwarves don't have the best, kind of, at least for their average troops. So it basically makes them useless for a short amount of time. And harmonic convergence as well. We also have bought the Ancient Salamander, who I haven't used as much. If you look back when I first started my YouTube channel, I used this guy an absolute ton. But he did get pretty heavily nerfed, but up against Dwarves, I still think he has a very good niche there. Now my opponent today, of course, the mighty Dowie, have a front line of miners with blasting charges. Got to be very careful, these guys can do a huge amount of damage to these red-crested skinks before they even get in there. He does have a backline of Dwarf Warriors who are all chevroned up, plus a couple of units of Longbeards. Longbeards are fantastic in this matchup, in my opinion, as they do very good against red-crested skinks. He also has 3 units of Thunderers, which is pretty standard. These guys are very good, the backbone of the Dowie army, really. They have shields. I don't know why these guys are raising them exactly. Oh, they're probably going to be under fire in a sec from the Ancient Salamander. But they're just super good all-round, great for dealing with Croxagore, Saurus, and pretty much, most of my army, apart from the skinks, really. So he also has the Norgrim Ironbreakers. These guys, Regiment Renowned Ironbreakers, super ridiculously tanky. Also have a lot of blasting charges, so I like this pick. He does have 2 cannons in the back. The Dragonback Slayers, Regiment Renowned Slayers, are slow. They're super useful in this matchup and almost a must pick. He does also have a Runesmith. It looks like he has only bought one of the spells with him today, which is the Rune of Wrath and Ruin, and the Rune Lord, who also just has the Master Rune of Wrath and Ruin. It's getting very cheap and cheerful there. And as we see, the battle's already started, so let's get this underway. So unfortunately, I do take a few hits from the Mines of Blast charges, but I only take, for the most part, 1 volley. Still, they do a decent amount of damage. So I have now forced forward my Croxagore in front of these other units to try and take the hits themselves, as they don't take anywhere near as much damage. But it looks like they're going to basically get a free charge, a couple of blasting charges going in there. So these guys are just going to start wailing on these miners now. As you can see, the Ancient Salamander's getting in there and doing some damage, but unfortunately he's been focused down by all the Thunderers and the cannon, which I didn't see, and it looks like he's going to be taken offline rather quickly. This other unit of Croxagore is starting to get in there on top of these miners. Not the ideal target. I probably should have pushed them through onto these Thunderers, but still, they're going to make short work of these guys who also have the Curse of Midnight Wind pop down on all 3 of these units now, and we're just bomb rushing into the back trying to break through that line. Our sneaky flank's gone rather well here, so 1 unit of Cold Ones has hopped on top of the cannon, the other one has split off and gone into the back of these Longbeards, trying to force break this left-hand flank, as the Croxagore have already broken in, and we're now going to be trying to force them through on top of these Thunderers. looks like we might be able to break up that cannon, but my opponent does start to respond with the Dragonback Slayers. On the other right flank, these Saurus probably let the Skinks down in their sneakiness, and they haven't all been spotted. My opponent does respond by chucking some Dwarf Warriors and Longbeards in there, and that's just going to be a rather grindy fight overall. So it looks like we have managed to just absolutely punch through that front line, which is the main plan, using the Curse of Midnight Wind and the Croxagore. It's just a bit of a sledgehammer, and now we've managed to pop our Saurus Old Blood onto some Thunderers. This Skink should turn around in a second and also hop onto this unit here. So we start to compromise the back line pretty quickly, which is fantastic and just what we want. We've managed to punch this left-hand part of the centre as well. These units are just standing around, but in a second, as you can see, they've just been ordered to move forward a bit and break into that Dowie defensive position, which, is a very nice position up here, with the cannons up on a little bit of high ground. So it looks like the Slayers did manage to scare off one unit of Cold One Riders, but let's see how the others are doing. The others have noticed the Slayers have come over, and they're going to be moving across, just trying to hop on top of these squishier targets like the Thunderers, use their mobility just to escape those Slayers. So this right hand flank looks like it's going pretty good for me. We've got a 2-for-1 over here on the Dwarf Warriors, and the Red Crested Skinks aren't doing too bad against Longbeards. They should be able to hold long enough to get a little bit of assistance. And the centre pocket is going very well. We have a cohort of Sotek, very healthy units of Saurus Warriors and Cold Ones, bomb rushing this cannon and trying to get that Runesmith off the field as quick as possible. The left flank, however, is a little bit more disastrous. I've kind of started to abandon it. So we do have Dragonback Slayers on top of the Croxagore, who will make short work of them. And these Saurus Warriors who are trying to do as much damage as possible. So one unit of Cold One Riders has range, which is actually super useful. So there may only be 14 of them left on super low health, but they can pop now, hit on this cannon, chase off any of these round Thunderers and other units and get some great value. So it's always good to bring those units back. It looks like the Saurus Old Bloods did manage to shatter unit of Thunderers. He's going to abandon this left flank, unfortunately for these poor fellows over here, but it's all in the name of the Old One's great plan. And we're going to come back and just make sure we absolutely hammer this right flank as quickly as possible. Our Ancient Salamander did come back, but unfortunately Rampage, he started charging into combat, drop a little Cold Blood down on him, which does clear up his Rampage, gets him a bit of a leadership boost. And he's now going to be firing some shots into this nice open space here, with a little bit of a buffer, of course, with all these nice Skinks here, who are slowly breaking down that Runesmith. So he goes in with the absolute Kobe's. It looks like he's trying to target down those Longbeards and the Dragonback Slayers. I want to get those Dragonback Slayers off just so I can constantly cycle charge the Cold Ones, and of course they just do a ton of damage overall anyway. The shots are coming in, a little bit of a swing and a miss there, but it looks like we're going for the long bits. So it looks like overall we managed to win most of the centre and the right flank, and my opponent won the left flank here, so we're going to be regrouping all our forces and charging in. So my opponent does get a little overzealous here with the Dragonback Slayers, so what I do is I take the cohort of Sotek, I start charging in, pop Refuse to Die, and I wanted to do as much damage to these Slayers as possible. They are lightly armoured, my opponent does retreat. These guys are just a great buffer right now. Refuse to Die, they're going to stand the end fight. We've got some returning Croxagores just coming in for a cheeky little charge there. And in the back, you can see our Cold One Riders are just picking off this cannon crew, and they're going to be a right pain for my opponent here, just dropping in the back, taking out these weakened units. So it looks like we are going to be chasing off the Runesmith with the Saurus Warriors, which is an incredibly slow chase, but unfortunately the one's nearby and everything else looks like it's been occupied right now, getting ready for that final last-ditch charge. So we have the Saurus Old Blood, still a fairly healthy unit of Red Crested Skinks for late game, another unit of those, fairly healthy Cold One Riders, some more Red Crested Skinks, and a healthy unit of Saurus Warriors. So as you can see, these guys have done a fantastic job here, the cohort of Sotek, just holding the line, almost breaking these Saurus Warriors and doing a decent amount of damage overall, and we are starting to pile in. So my opponent does bring back the Dragonback Slayers to try and fend off these Saurus Cold One Riders, but a little bit too little too late there. The Thunderers have been broken and I'm going to be feasting on them. He does try and bring them back round to hop on top of the Cold Ones, but we do intercept here the Red Crested Skinks just to do a nice bit of damage here. Of course, we'll keep on popping that Curse of the Midnight Wind, which is just so useful right now, especially considering we're up against the Northern Ironbreakers. We bring their armour down to 95, which is obviously a big boost. So we've seen that the Slayers are over on this flank, so we decided to just pull our Cold One Riders round. There's no point getting engaged over there. We're going to pull them round and start charging into the back of these Longbeards and Miners, trying to break them and just keep cycle charging. The other Cold Ones have now shattered this unit of Thunderers, and they're going to be coming back and just doing the same just constantly. It does look like a Master Rune of Wrath and Ruin has been popped down, but they're popping in, and it looks like we might be able to break off these Miners here. And overall, it has become a massive mosh pit. Power balance is on our favour, however, and let's see. So the Sauruses are still chasing off that Runesmith, It looks like for my opponent he does have a few longbeards who've returned to the fray, but for the most part everything else looks pretty shattered off, apart from this one unit of dwarf warriors here. Everything else has now formed into the giant mosh pit, which a ton of battles do tend to do late game. So it looks like we've managed to break off these miners. Other one riders did rampage, so just pop cold blood onto them, keep them out of trouble, and allow me to constantly cycle charge. It does look like, however, this unit of cob riders just about had enough. There's only 5 of them left. I believe they are about to shatter. But still, they're doing a decent job overall, feasting on some Dowie skulls, which is a very tasty afternoon snack for a cold one. But again, constantly cycle charging in, trying to break these longbeards, trying to do as much damage to the Norgrim Ironbreakers. These guys just do not want to die. They're up to 128 kills, and we just have to basically take them down through attrition. So where is the Dowie Lord? So the Rune Lord did get a little bit too danger close to the Saurus Oldblood, who just started absolutely wailing on him with a little bit of help here from the Skink Priest of Heaven, who's going to be fast enough to chase him down. So our Saurus Oldblood, he's got, you know, the smell of blood right now. He's hunting down that Dowie Lord, but he decides to turn around and get in where he really needs to do. He needs to start taking down these Ironbreakers and just slowly grinding down that Dowie force, as the Skink Priest has enough about him to chase off this Rune Lord. However, we are going to bring the Cold Ones over just to ensure that we can kill him in a timely fashion, and start to bring the Skink Priest back so he can use his magic on this main block. Looks like we do pop a stand your ground as well. A couple of my units were starting to waver, so pop down, stand your ground, and a Cold Blood on this unit of Red Crested Skinks, just to keep them in the fight as long as possible. My opponent now, all he really has is Dragonback Slayers, a few Longbeards, but it's all about these Norgrim Ironbreakers, just trying to break them. But my leadership's it's not too bad right now, but we did pop stand your ground and stuff, but it's starting to get a little bit danger close, and there are some returning Longbeards. However, we've got a very healthy unit of Saurus Warriors over in the distance here who did escort that Runesmith off the field, and they're going to be coming back, and they're going to be vital late game. It does look like we drop another Cursor from the Midnight Wind down here. It's absolutely fantastic for us. It looks like these Longbeards have also come into the fray again, but they're so tapped and being up right now, I don't think they're going to be able to do too much in this late phase. So we do have the Cold Ones just slowly circling this Rune Lord, slowly dragging him down. He is down to about 302 health now. He's just taken another couple of hits there, and he's going to be going down shortly, but the sooner the better. These Dowie just do not want to break. Very classic Dwarfs there, and 2 of our units have started to flee, which could be disastrous. We just have this Saurus Oldblood here, the Regiment around Red Crested Skinks, and the Saurus Oldblood, who has just popped down the Amulet of Itzel for that damage resistance, just so, you know, while these units are running away, hopefully they're rallying time, and in the meantime I don't want them taking too much damage. Even the Skink Priest has jumped into the fray now, hopping on top of these Longbeards, and I mean, he's a wizard, but you know, he's still a skink with a little staff, wherever he is. They're right here, he's getting down and dirty, doing his little tail spins and tail slaps. But it does look like those Cold Ones finally decided to finish off their mill, and with that, the power balance goes even more in my favour, and the Dwarf units all start to shatter and free. It's fantastic news for us. A lot of our units are rallying here, and it's just going to be these last few Dragonback Slayers seeking a very awesome death here. Coming up against dinosaurs, I mean, that's a fair way for a Slayer to go. I think they should be able to fulfill their oaths, and everyone is now coming crashing in, getting a forced around on these Dragonback Slayers, and they're not long for this world after all. The Cold One Riders come crashing in, flinging Dwarfs left, right and centre, and even the Skink Priest, he's got his blood up now, going in for that flying cinematic kill right there. So very well played to my opponent, super fun game. Let's go to the instats. So very well played to my opponent. Not sure if I'm going to be able to say your name at all. I'm going to say Kao Yi. 4-0, 4-0, 4-0, 4-0. Very well played. This is a really fun matchup. I've been having no mixed results with. I think it's actually pretty damn close. The Dwarves have some fantastic tools like Thunderers and Slayers to kind of deal with all your big monsters. But of course, in return, Lizardmen, you have Red Crested Skinks, which are very good. The Ancient Salamander, Crocscore, and all these other units. So yeah, overall super fun game. Hope to meet you on ladder again. Overall, this list worked pretty damn well. I mean, you've got some huge kills on the Red Crested Skinks, but it's just all about the overload, you know. If they take their cannons, okay, they want to take out the Cold Ones who can get into the back line, but at the same time, they need to take out the Ancient Salamander. It's going to do too much damage. At the same time, they can't leave the Crocscore either. So just so many targets for the enemy to hit, plus a mass amount of infantry, which can wrap around and cause all kinds of problems. And as you saw with the Cursed Midnight Wind, we just managed to smash through that front line with those Crocscore and hop onto their Thunderers, and they didn't do too much damage in the end. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this. It was very enjoyable to play. If you did, please do consider leaving a like or subscribing. It really helps the channel. We're on to 59 subscribers now, I believe. So when we get to 100, I'm going to do a live stream with just subscribers who want to come up and face me in battles. We can do best of 3 matches or just single, winner stays on matches. I'll happily cast a few as well. So we've got a lot of things, lined up and on the way. So yeah, please do subscribe to catch it all. Feel free to comment and do suggestions down below. I do also have a Patreon account just in the description. So peace, guys. Stay awesome.